Welcome. We have here two beautiful souls, artist and rabbi, artist and spiritual mentor, brought here. Yiscah Smith is a spiritual activist, educator, mentor, and meditation guide who addresses the spiritual practice of encountering the divine spark within. In fact, Yiscah views Judaism as a spiritual practice. She relies on Jewish spiritual teachings to form and uplift her students and audiences, such as a compass gently guiding them to their unique inner selves. Yael Harris Resnick is a self-taught multimedia artist known for her Pesach table runners, hand-painted silk, acrylic paintings, and for integrating silk accents on her canvases. Influenced by her mother, calligrapher and ketubah artist, Yael Harris, much of her work involves Judaic and biblical motifs and illustrates the splendor of the land of Israel using a vibrantly colorful palette. Inspired by Jewish history, she strives to bring brave female heroines into the limelight. Without further ado, Yael Harris Resnick and Yiscah Smith.
Thank you, Tver.
Thank you, Devere. Shalom. So, Yael, look at where we are. Yes. So when I see your beautiful piece, which is also now hanging in my home, I'm reminded of a quote, two quotes from two different Rebbes. And I think this sums up my entire teaching that I was blessed to learn with you in Chavruta. The first is from Rebbe Menachem Mendel of Kosov. He was born in 1768 and passed in 1825 in the Ukraine. He asks, why has Mashiach not come today? Simple. Because we are today just as we were yesterday. And that's much of the teaching that you and I were able to share together, having the insight, also trusting the process and realizing that we need to change our perception. We don't have to really change reality. It's how we see the reality. And you so articulated that in your painting, using the different elements, which, of course, in a moment, you'll explain to us in summary what you did. But I just sometimes stand in front of your piece and meditate on how water or fire, air, earth can be used in so many different ways. And I don't know if you recall, but when we were learning this teaching that I shared in Chavruta with Yael, I brought up the difference between Golah, which is another word for Galut, and Gu'ula. And the difference is the Aleph. The other four letters are the same, the Gimel, the Vav, the Lamed, and Hey. What the Gu'ula has is the Aleph. And the Baal Shem Tov says that's the awareness, that's the Da'at, the awareness of God, of the divine in our lives. And that changes everything. That's the difference. That's what I believe the Kosovo Rebbe is really speaking to. We need to change how we see the world so we can see more of God in the world, and that already begins the redemptive process. I'll just conclude my little part here with another quote from Rabbi Mordechai of Ger. He was the third Gerer Rebbe from 1866. He passed in 1948. He says that for the redemption to arrive, two things must happen. The Israelite people must be taken out of exile, and the exile must be taken out of the Israelite people. The latter is more difficult than the former. And this is cultivating, I see this as the invitation to cultivate the spiritual practice inwardly of becoming free, of really becoming faithful to our inner being, to our inner selves. And I think that's what I'd like to share as the summary. And now I leave it to you to discuss your piece.
Thank you, Yiscah. My synopsis is not as polished, but I'm the artist, so that's okay. So I think the main topic that we really wanted to bring forward, which Yiscah just said so eloquently, was that element of perception, that changing your perception really does change the destiny of Am Yisrael. And so within the whole piece, as a whole painting, I wanted it to be like kind of a game of perception, so that we could already begin that, like I'm basically trying to force the viewer to change their perception so that they could be a part of bringing Geulah, even if they already may have done that today, but by being a part of this painting with us, you are changing the reality of Am Yisrael. So you may notice that it's a picture of a face, particularly a woman. As Tver mentioned, I like to bring as much representation of women into art as possible. And Shmot has so many of them. So this woman represents not just Geulah, but the people who helps jumpstart the Geulah, starting with Shifra and Puah, and Miriam, Zipporah, and the Nashim Tzadkaniot, the virtuous women who played their drums and danced and were so part of the original Geulah that we had from Yetziat Mitzrayim, and using those as inspiration for our future Geulah, which is coming and is on its way and is happening right now, especially with this, beginning of changing our perception. So if you notice, there are a few little things inside the woman, and this was a whole exploration that Yiscah and I had, having to do with past galuyot, past exiles, and how they're a model, for us coming out of those exiles, how they were a model for our future Geulah, for coming out of this exile. So we touched upon Yetziat Mitzrayim, Egypt. We touched upon the Holocaust, which was the beginning of our galut in this generation. We touched upon the signs of our time, which are hinting to our future redemption, which in her neck, you have the kotel. We have a little snippet of the Beit HaMikdash in there. And through our original exploration of Shmot, we talked about Moshe, so he's in there a few times in different aspects. I won't go into it right now because that's very long. But we also have, I tried to hide in there the flag of Eretz Yisrael. You can see the blue of the water with the white inside, and that aleph that Yiscah discussed, which is our, the difference between Galut and Geulah is that aleph, and that's the middle of our flag of Eretz Yisrael, which we have today, and is such a sign that this Geulah has started. So thank you. Are there any questions? Do we have time?
Thank you both so much. One thing that's interesting about this piece is that each of the sensory nodes, be it the ears, the eyes, the lips, they're only described they're only presented in their form. But I'm curious if you have any, if you want to expand on how come the actual things in which we use to perceive in the world are changed?
Well, that's a very long discussion, but I can try to touch upon it a little bit. 1 second, I'm just looking at my notes. Okay, so the heads of the people there, which are also the eyes, those are, if you look very closely, I don't know if you can see it from right now, but those are locks. And the lock represents being locked in our perception, being locked in our exile. The one with Egypt, I don't know if you can zoom in. If you can, it's okay. It's unlocked because we've already experienced our redemption from there. And of course, seeing is only one way that we perceive, but it's the main first reaction of how we perceive. So I used the two exiles for the eyes because that's where we first need to change our perception. The ear is also Moshe's foot, Shalna alecha me'al raglecha. Hashem tells Moshe to remove his shoes, and this is the whole beginning of the redemption process. So it is from that he hears Hashem with his ears, and he uses his feet to take action. So I thought those went well together. It was a coincidence that they happened to be in the same shape, so that worked well for me. But you know, if you change your perception, you see things that you might not have seen. And then we have the nose is it's also a sun. The forehead is the night, and the nose is the beginning of Geulah. We know that from Manishtana Halayla Hazeh in the Seder, which is also part of this whole parsha. Leilots could also mean exiles. Why is this exile different from all other exiles? So an exile is in your mind. It's a mind concept. And I don't know, something about breathing in a new perception made me connect it to Geulah, the sun, the daytime, breathing in new life. So does that answer any of your questions? Is that good? Okay, thank you.
You know, if I could, I'm sorry, did someone?
No, go ahead. Yes.
This, how you just so explained the different aspects and meanings, it really brings us back to the teaching when we were learning that the Zohar, we learn in this.
Jeffrey, would you be able to mute yourself? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. That the Zohar teaches that Bereshit, which, as Devir mentioned, we're just coming out of Parshat Bereshit, is found in every Parsha in the Chumash. And where we see it in Shemot is the gematria of Bereshit, and equals the gematria of Shal Na'alecha Me'al Raglecha. Now, there's a double meaning of take off your shoes from your feet, and that's, you express that with the locks, like break the locks of your habitual behavior. And that will be the beginning. In this case, the beginning of redemption. So that's the Bereshit in Parshat Shemot, with the same gematria of Bereshit and Shal Na'alecha Me'al Raglecha.
That's really cool.
I get really excited about something like that. Yeah.
Well, the coolest part about the Torah is that there's so many hidden puzzles and little, perceptions. And we tried to capture that as much as we could. We don't do it as well as Hashem, but we tried to find all the little things that could connect or fit inside each other. So
yeah.
Thank you for that opportunity.
And our way of interacting and engaging with Hashem comes from a place of perception, and fine-tuning our exercise machines in perception, as you have done for us, Yael, is a way for us to refine ourselves to Hashem, to notice the little things as opposed to only seeing the big picture. So this is a very beautiful piece of art, and it's also such a wonderful way to begin today's encapsulation of many different images coming together as you've shown in your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.